Her focus is on traditional knowledge and what she calls the vexed issues of tangible, intangible heritage. Please welcome, speaking about rediscovering the rights to beauty, Kun Tong.
Very nice introduction. That's a piece of tangible heritage there. And I must say, it's very difficult for me to come in and talk basically from, I think, the prehistory of human beings, when everybody here is living very much in this century. My subject requires some notes because it's impossibly difficult. It's the subject of beauty. Rediscovering the right to beauty, I hasten to reassure you, is not the sales pitch of a cosmetic company. They didn't exist in prehistory. But I'm not talking about superficial beauty. I'm not talking about fast food beauty that you can acquire very rapidly. I'm talking about deep, deep beauty that talks to the soul. And this kind of deep, authentic beauty is, what is it? You can't define it. You can say, oh, that's beautiful. But you can't define it, you can't describe it, you can't prescribe it, you can't measure it. Perhaps we can look at it in terms of what is the opposite of beauty? Ugliness. And perhaps we can notice that we are surrounded by an epidemic of ugliness, concrete, pollution, garbage, noise. I mean, all our senses are being attacked by this epidemic of ugliness that seems to go hand in hand with development. And we're all weeping, of course, about climate change and the extinction of species and all this sort of thing. Beauty is going down the drain. We may lose beauty. Perhaps it's not important, but perhaps it is. I happen to have worked for the past several decades with traditions and people for whom beauty was meaningful. But these people belong to the silent majorities on the fringes of modernity, on the fringes of our developed world. So they don't really have a voice. And I've taken it upon myself to speak of beauty here on their behalf. And beauty in this sense is something that we run the risk of losing. This is why I have wanted to talk about our right to beauty and our need, perhaps, if we choose to defend our right to beauty. Where is beauty? I see it in two main categories. One is the beauty of nature. We've all seen beautiful landscapes, and you sit in front of a beautiful landscape and you go, wow. You can't say anything. You can't describe it. You can't measure it. There's a further stage where beauty of nature is intertwined with the beauty that human beings over centuries, civilizations, have crafted into the beauty of nature. Landscapes that have been fashioned for efficient but respectful farming, terraced paddy fields, terraced olive groves, but even more humble farming landscapes that you find all over the place in pre-industrialized agriculture. You've got beautiful monuments, you've got humble dwellings made of natural elements. And then further down the line, you've got the portable marriage of human culture and nature, of which I have some artifacts here. I'm wearing an artifact. These are humble things. They're very humble. But they talk about the effort of humans to combine the beauty of something natural. This is raw silk, straight from the cocoon. And this, through human ingenuity, becomes this. The people who can work this into that or bamboo into this and create these amazing shapes, textures. These people have a connection, which is not just a connection with community, with all the things that we find valuable now in the 21st century. They have a deep connection with the soul of nature. They have a deep connection with the soul of humankind, dating back many, many, many centuries, if not millennia. And this is something that my dream is to see this live on into the future. Because what I find frightening is the so many breaking points, ruptures that we have had in modern history. So I like to look at the right to beauty in terms of the right to spiritual connection, but not spiritual connection to some kind of, spiritual entity up there, very far away from us. It's connected, nature, humans, and God. And I think the connection is to a very large extent through beauty. The beauty that we can perceive in nature and the beauty that we can create, co-create with nature and with other human beings. I'm an anthropologist. I'm obsessed with traditional knowledge. I've seen too many traditions vanish. I've seen too many traditional knowledge holders lose their soul because modernization, marketization, industrialization, pollution have taken away their spaces, their relevance, and have made their work irrelevant, have made their sense of beauty irrelevant. So this obsession, driven by some measure of desperation, has made me do a number of projects that have not been successful. But when I came to Thailand, I was basically picked up by a group of silk weavers who said, find us a market. I said, I'm not a businesswoman. Don't know how to do that. But I had this hunch that, okay, if you're going to go back to the natural colors that your ancestors used to do, or rediscover them, yeah, I think there is a market for that. And if you do that, it's going to be fair trade, and I'm going to work for you. So this was the beginning of a very, very tough path, because their gaze, inner gaze, and the gaze of their eyes had become completely insensitive to nature. They still held deep skills, but they couldn't see the natural colors anymore. They were no longer having access to the beauty of the heirloom pieces that their grandparents, their grandmothers had made. All those had been sold off in times of need. They were exposed, like all of us, to the artificial colors of plastics, TV, adverts, internet. I love internet. I love computers. But still, I'm also a traditionalist. And they were not seeing the real thing. It took a year of constant, patient fighting, gardening on my part. And by the end of 1 year, it had happened. The revolution, the backward revolution, so to speak, had happened. They were all seeing these beautiful colors. They were all getting excited about, hey, this weed. I'm going to try this weed. I'm going to mix it with something else. So then you had the cooking that was happening in these pots in their, in their courtyards. And they were coming up with more and more of these extraordinary colors. And this has grown over the past 4 years only into something that I would definitely call a barefoot research lab. This, to me, is very important because, not what I'm doing, but this kind of result. Because this means that we can restore, if we use this kind of approach, we can restore all these many, many people who live on the fringes of our knowledge systems. We can restore them to their own knowledge systems. And those knowledge systems are very beautiful because they connect in ways that we are no longer capable of practicing. Because we have knowledge systems which are to a large extent obsolescent. I take what Sir Ken said, I take what my predecessor just said. All this is correct. He talks about an agricultural model. Yes, I see an agricultural model where we can connect with nature, where we know how we can farm this, that, and the other in a respectful, organic way so that nature will work with us beautifully and we will work with her beautifully. And we will be able to produce beautiful food, beautiful landscapes again, and beautiful things, because the farming goes hand in hand with the traditional medicine. For instance, I'm sorry, my shopping bag is, yes, more artifacts from my little market. Where's it gone? Ah, here. This is traditional medicine. And you can see the proof of this traditional medicine on my black feet. You thought I was dirty. No, this is black dye, which is medicinal. It actually is combating some very nasty parasite I picked up in the paddy field. But it also produces this black dye. So you see the connection of knowledge. I'm talking about the connection of knowledge, of the farming knowledge in the agricultural model, as I understand it. The connection, nature, and the different types of knowledge that are all connected together, all the way to spirituality. When you know and you practice these things, as traditional knowledge systems and holders do, you are connected in a very complex way that we no longer have access to. And because we no longer have access to this, because we have been brainwashed by our education, I think these people who still have traditional knowledge, who still are traditional knowledge, because you don't just have the knowledge. When you're a traditional knowledge person, you are traditional knowledge. It's not something that you've acquired at school and had a degree for. It's something that is constantly evolving inside you. It's organic, as has been said also. And as you practice it, you keep going deeper and deeper and knowing, and you have more of a knowing essence. You're increasingly connected to the spirit of everything. This is something that we have lost, and those people still, at least residually, have. As I've discovered in my project, these women, in less than 4 years, once they were reconnected with the roots of their knowledge, they were bringing back weaving techniques, they were bringing back all sorts of designs, they were bringing back happiness and creativity for themselves. And they don't want to go back to their factories. They don't want to go back to that. They're happy doing what they do well. And in a complex way, they're happy to reconnect with nature. We've reconstituted our ecosystems. They have rediscovered the virtues of this. This is it's very, very wide-ranging in terms of the possible effects of what this kind of effort can produce if we could duplicate this on a broader scale. I'm extremely concerned that I'm only one individual working with one particular community of such people. But you might think that, well, yeah, okay, she's just a crazy woman working on the margins of society. These people that I'm working with are marginal. Yes, they're marginal. They're the informal economy, okay? They are less paid. They are less respected. We might help them. We might give them development. But we do not respect what they are in terms of knowledge, connective knowledge, spirituality, beauty. Beauty as food for the soul. When these people show me this and give me this to wear, make that, and I can use that, they are giving food to my soul as well as giving me something that I can use. These people have the spirit of beauty, like artists do, but in a more humble way, without an ego. I think they have many things to teach us, very many things to teach us. And these people whom we deem or we treat as marginal, in terms of numbers, are not marginal. If you take the figures of hunger, of lack of privilege, you can take them from the UN, from any one of those big agencies. All those people who are traditional knowledge people, they live on the margins. There's a huge number of them. Conservative estimate that I would make is 500 million. Put it up to 1 billion. If those people could be re-empowered to bring back the spirit of beauty, which is connective beauty, slow beauty, knowledge, traditional knowledge that connects nature, humans, God. God, not in a specific religious Christian sense, God. I think they could help us in a considerable way. They could help us. The right to beauty, as I see it, is not just a right to enjoy beauty. It's a right to exercise the duty to serve beauty. And this is what traditional knowledge holders are all about. When you have that knowledge, you know what this plant can do, you know what that can do, and you know your skills because you've acquired them organically in an agricultural model. You're compelled by them. Just imagine the agony of people who have this knowledge. They cannot pass it on to their grandchildren because the grandchildren have become modern, but in a brainwashed way, not in a creative way. And they themselves, these knowledge holders, traditional knowledge holders, have no place in society, have no place on the market. Just imagine the agony in their souls. These are millions and millions of dying or dead souls, potentially. Yet, they have the key to restoring the balance, the communication of beauty as food for the soul. Food for the soul, which should be our right, the right of all of us. And to fight for this right is a duty. It is their duty. They feel compelled to do it. And if they cannot serve their duty, it's a terrible tragedy for them, but it's a terrible tragedy which I feel, and I feel it's a terrible tragedy for all of us. I understand that many people will not necessarily feel the same way as I do, because you're not so deeply connected with such people. But try to look at it in the bigger picture, the bigger pattern of the universe, the big food chain of nature, big pattern of life, the subtle life behind the visible life that our senses can perceive. In that overall pattern, everything has its role, everything has a space, everything has to feed something else. We humans are the only ones who have removed ourselves from that food chain. We are pure parasites, and worse than that, we give back. What do we give back to Mother Nature? What do we give back to beauty? Nothing. Garbage. Mountains of garbage in our lifetime, garbage that the universe and nature cannot digest. We give back our excrements, and at the end of our lives, our corpses. Traditional knowledge people take nature, increment the beauty, and give back. And this, I believe, is our human calling in life, and we forget it, I think, at the peril of life itself. We must give back. And this is what I learned when I was living with esoteric grassroots wisdom holders in India. They taught me, listen, in this life, we have to work very hard because we don't know afterlife. The religions say that we're going to have paradise and hell. Well, who says? How do we know? We have to work to create paradise here, in this life. This is what we are here for. This is our calling in the global, in the overall food chain. Our role as humans is to feed back beauty, spirit. And like this, we can increment nature. This is our best contribution. And if we fail this, well, it's our choice, because we're human. So perhaps I can invite you all to think about how we could possibly help that billion marginal people help us save the beauty of our universe.
Thank you, Rosanne. Thank you very much.